In the book of Daniel, chapter 3, King James Version, the story of the three Hebrew boys stood the test of time, where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which wasn't their original names, but that's besides the point, they were taken captive by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. That one you have to pull up some brain, I want both religious and non-religious people to gather around. Like, comment, and share. And if you don't share, like nor comment, it is okay. A document to a document. Remember the man. Now, these boys were being forced to partake of the king's food and to bow to the king's idol. Just to cut a long story short, these boys refused to eat off the king's food, which was meat and wine and you know the works. These boys refused to bow to the king's god, and so, as a consequence to their defiance, they were thrown into a fire made 10 times hotter than a regular fire. Now, after a little while, when the king thinks these boys were being burnt to crisp, they looked into the fire and saw a fourth person appear in the fire, which was the presence of God with these boys. These boys simply refused to bow to the king. They had faith, you know that faith there, where all Christians campaign on in any argument, and so their lives were spared not by the king, but by God. They refused to taint their bodies, and they refused to give up their beliefs, as they did not believe in selling their souls just to fit in. Next story. In the book of Daniel, chapter 6. I preach. Daniel in the lion's den. Now Daniel, he was accused of praying and worshipping his God, refusing to pray to the king, as a law was made for everybody to pray to the king at a particular time. Now Daniel no believe in a worshipping man, and so he was thrown into a pit or a den of lions. Now Daniel had faith. He prayed to his creator and his life was spared. Now Daniel did not believe he should sell out his beliefs regardless of the impending consequences that stood right in his face. I'm getting to the point. Next story. In the book of Job, Job, who was a very wealthy man in every aspect of wealthy, spiritually wealthy, financially wealthy, a certain protection was removed from around him to prove his faith, and the devil was allowed to touch him. Now even in the midst of losing every single thing, losing him livelihood, losing him children, losing him wife, him cattle, him farms, Job was reduced to rubble, and he stood in the face of adversity, as his faith was as hard as steel, or even harder. What am I saying here? I think I strung you guys along enough. I am still bothered by the COVID era. And the thing that bothers me most was the response of the church. The church, whom I personally, and many like myself, but let me speak for myself, I personally was looking to the church to stand up and have a strong pushback against the mandates, against the force and the fraud and the misinformation. But let's say everybody is not as educated to decipher certain information. I was looking for the church to be spiritually rich in a sense where they would have been in a position to receive real message from God, as their faith alone would have been needed to stand in the face of adversities and our adversaries, the government, the European Union, WHO, Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates, the FDA. I really thought that the church would have been the strongest voice, the strongest opposition during the foolery and demonization of humanity. But instead, that is not what we saw happening. The church, and let me not speak for every single soul, took the knee. They bowed. Uno bowed.
Una take the knee. And like churches like the Seventh-day Adventists especially, I never expected them to come out. And of course, I don't think Ellen G. White was against vaccinations. No, I don't think she was. But I do believe that she was not one to infringe upon anyone's bodily autonomy. The Jehovah's Witness, they took the vaccines in silence. We can agree that in today's society, the church has lost its spunk, right? Many young people, they do not believe or feel like the church that was once a source of protection and safe haven, they don't believe that it is anymore. And so, during this time of COVID, I believe that the church got its chance once more to redeem and reclaim its glory. And f it up. Whichever Christian that listen to this, you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. And this is sad. One chance you get, you should have a march in the streets. You should have a march per garden house instead of make UIC, not just for you, but only you. The only entity in Jamaica that took to the streets in defense of the Jamaican people, in defense of our children. Me think say the church protected children better. Uno bow when the three Hebrew boys was always an example used in the church. Say you're not a bow to Babylon. Uno give up faith when thrown into the lions den, brother. Just cool, no man. When your livelihood, just like Job, was threatened and you were facing that, oh, you can't go travel go foreign again. You can't go buy food without the vaccine. These were some of the narratives, you know. And the narrative, these were some of the force. You're gonna lose your job, brother. Your picnic can't go to school. What did you do? Now, all of a sudden, the words, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen, went out the window. You no longer believed in God to protect you. And for those who claim that God told you to take the vaccine, you lie. You're a f***ing liar. You lie. You lie. You're a hypocrite. Because if God did not talk to you, you would have realized it. Just the massive force that came with the vaccines, you being paid to take it. They were willing to ruin our livelihood for us to take it. They were willing to starve us and kill us in order to save our lives. They made the vaccinations God, wherein the vaccines never have no fault at all and couldn't have any fault at all. And those who were experiencing adverse reactions, they were forced to shut up through censorship online. And even them doctors censored them. And even the very church people censored them. Because I could have the vaccine and harm you. God, through your faith, should have spoken to you. No. It's not that God should have. It's just that you guys are fake. God not talk to you. God talk to people. But God is not speaking to you. I am horrendously disappointed. And I promise you, this chance that you have missed, you have not only missed this chance, you have created the same thing where the Bible tells us you're not to do. You guys have now stood in the way of sinners because you have sat in the seat of the scornful. I honestly believe that you all were commissioned by God to save souls. Woe be unto you all. Remember me telling you that. I see if anyone out there go heaven, I would gladly sit in hell with the criminals. Believe, because uno no righteous.